Namaste everyone. Krishna Kumar Ji always used to say that his flagship institution, Arya Vaidya Pharmacy or AVP, stands for Achar, Vichar and Prachar. Achar means practicing of Ayurveda, Vichar means thinking or developing one's own thought process in Ayurveda, and Prachar means spreading Ayurveda or globalizing this science. He believed that his purpose in life was Achar, Vichar and Prachar of Ayurveda and other Indian systems of knowledge. And he lived by that principle and urged those who were drawn to him to do so. It was Krishna Kumar Ji's vision to prachar Ayurveda for everyone who seeks the knowledge. Since taking charge of AVP Group, he managed to put Ayurveda in the front of the world as a science by supporting research activities and encouraging educational programs, as well as standardizing medicine production and Ayurvedic treatments via multiple institutions of excellence. He has always been our guide, mentor, and he inspired and supported us to push the envelope in all ways to move Ayurveda forward. Even after his loss 1 year ago, we are committed to take his legacy forward, to see his plans through and to realize his vision. Let's start with a prayer.
Shruti Smriti Puranukta Dharma Margaradham Gurum Bhaktaram Hitavaktaram Nasye Chitta Shuddhaye Advaitanandha Paridam Sadhunam Ubhakarinam Sarvashastravidam Shantam Namasye Chitta Shuddhaye Karma Bhakti Jnana Marga Prachare Bhattakam Ganam Anugraha Pradataram Namasye Chitta Shuddhaye.
Welcome to Prachar. Inspired by Krishna Kumar Ji to mainstream Ayurveda and other Indian systems of knowledge globally. A 7-day webinar to get to know leaders of Ayurvedic movement and innovation from across the globe, challenges and possibilities according to them in the education and practice of Ayurveda in their respective countries. On day 2, we are joined by Dr. Daniel Eric Furst, Dr. Anupama Kizhake-Vittal, Dr. Hari N. Pallateri, Dr. Shivarama Prasad Vinjamuri, and Ms. Heikesh Sagirba. Thank you for joining us, doctors. We welcome you to Prachar. They will be introduced to you in detail by our moderator. I will introduce you the moderator for today, that is Dr. Anirudh Sehra. Vaidya Anirudh Sehra did his UG from SDM College of Ayurveda and Hospital, Hassan, Karnataka, India. Currently, he is a PG scholar in Manovigyan and Mansroga, that is Ayurveda Neurophysiology and Psychiatry. He is a co-founder of an organization called Sarganic. He was an ardent visitor to Krishna Kumar Ji's programs, and he idolized him, and he was extremely loved by Krishna Kumar Ji. Welcome to the program, Dr. Anirudh.
Thank you for your kind words, Dr. Shrija. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Shri Dhanvantare Namaha. Welcome to Prachar. As we all know, Krishna Kumar Ji has impacted so many lives all over the globe, and his vision and mission has reached to many. So we know that his name was Krishna Kumar, but he was also in mind like Krishna. His mind was like Krishna, and his actions were like that of Vivekananda. And like that means he was always a far-sighted person. He had that far-sighted wisdom. He thought of things for Ayurveda and the globe in a times when no one was thinking about it. So that itself is being continued by people today. His legacy is being continued. And continuing that, we have an amazing panel today who are going to shed some light upon that, the work they are doing, and how Krishna Kumar Ji's life and vision and mission has inspired that. First up, we have Dr. Daniel Eric First. He's an eminent rheumatologist from University of California, USA. He was part of first ever National Institute of Health US funded clinical trial conducted in collaboration with Ayurvedic Trust, Coimbatore, to test the efficacy of Ayurveda in rheumatoid arthritis. Sir, I invite you to please come up and enlighten us with the topic NIH funded study on rheumatoid arthritis and how has Krishna Kumar Ji's vision has shaped this course.
Well, thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here today. Let me share my screen and get started. And what I want to emphasize is that Krishna Kumar Ji, I know it may not be respectful, but we called him KK, helped us move things forward for Ayurvedic medicine by helping us work in well-controlled double-blind trials. When I first met him, it was when we spoke about a pilot trial of Ayurvedic medicine in rheumatoid arthritis. His point was, and continued to be throughout, that he wanted to scientifically test Ayurvedic medicine to find its place in the treatment of general illness. For this reason, he first supported the following study. And these are the individuals who helped do this. A large group of very dedicated individuals at the AVP in Coimbatore, and you can see some of them there. And then there were 3 of us from the US, 4 of us, myself, Mano Venkatraman, Mary McGann, and Catherine Booth LaForce. We had a small amount of money from the NIH, supplemented by some money from the AVP and some money that I was able to pull together as well. The study itself was a pilot study, but the interesting part was that it was double-blind and randomized. That is, even though, as you all know, with Ayurvedic medicine, there are multiple different preparations, we're able to get placebos for each of those, as well as the placebo for methotrexate. So in this small study, we compare outpatient Ayurveda with methotrexate placebo, methotrexate with Ayurvedic placebo, and we thought we'd try both together to see if there might be something to that. It was a 36-week trial, and patients were seen every 2 weeks so that they could be, their medications could be changed. Since things were double-blind, all patients could have their medications changed as needed on an individualized basis. The trick was that there needed to be multiple placebo, a double dummy technique. Patients were seen frequently, both or all 3 groups, to avoid the Hawthorne effect, which really can mess up studies in a big way. Only 2 pharmacists were involved, so that in fact, there was no way, there was less of a probability of the blind being broken. And there was a medical safety officer who was uninvolved with the study in all other ways to review side effects. And here are the results. What you can see here is in the dark blue was the methotrexate group, yellow was the Ayurvedic group, light blue was the combo. And for patient pain and patient global, you can see that methotrexate and Ayurveda were the same, and the combo was a little less. I must point out that there was no statistical difference among them, despite the numerical differences or the apparent numerical differences. For the Ayurveda global assessment and the allopathic global assessment, there was also no difference. One of the major outcome measures in rheumatoid arthritis is a combined measure called the DAS-28. It examines the number of tender and swollen joints and the patient and the physician's global assessment. And in that combination, you could see once more, there was no statistical difference between methotrexate, Ayurveda, or the combination, although there were some numerical differences in this case favoring methotrexate. And that was true for the tender joint count and the swollen joint count as well. Of course, you never get something for nothing. And so we looked at the side effects for these drugs. And you can see here that there were twice as many side effects on methotrexate as Ayurveda, although there were some in each group. The result of that study was 3 publications in well-respected journals, one of which was to look at the general way this approach can be used in a complementary therapy journal. And then we wanted to do a larger phase 3 trial. And this was a major undertaking. It took 10 years to get to the point where we are now, which is to start the large phase 3 study. During that period, Krishna Kumar Ji would have to step in periodically and unclog, and I'm telling you, the bureaucratic barriers that came up in India, most of you who are there can understand them very well. It really took a major effort by KK to do that. You know, he had a very gentle style, and he'd move along something that really seemed difficult. And you knew, and he knew, that there's some real risk to this study. It need not show that Ayurvedic worked or that it worked less well, but he was only concerned about a true scientifically valid outcome. What we wanted to do was use and compare this study using the combined measure, looking at methotrexate versus outpatient Ayurveda. And this was the way it looked, very classical trial, double-blind, randomized, controlled, and, by the way, dedicated to Krishna Kumar Ji. We're going to test these 2 therapies, and by doing so, I think we're going to help develop Ayurvedic medicine so it can independently do the highest standard of clinical research, at least in the field of RA therapy, and I'm sure other fields as well. We needed to do these steps to do this, and we're at the point now where, after the pandemic calms down enough, we will start subject participation taking 9 months, with recruitment being 9 months and data clean and analysis being 6 months, basically 2 years. All of us on the study team, Coimbatore, Bangalore, Mumbai, want to make this a testimonial to Krishna Kumar's dedication to science and to finding the place of Ayurvedic medicine in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel. This was a short but very powerful insight into what went through and what was the pilot trial like and where we are headed. Next up, I would like to invite Dr. Anupama. But before that, I want to inform all that we'll have a discussion at the end of all talks, and all the panelists will be up for discussion with the students and delegates. So I hope all of us stay till the end. Dr. Anupama Kirakavitil is a program director and professor, Ayurveda Medicine Department at Southern California University of Health Sciences. She's board of director, National Ayurvedic Medical Association, California, and had been teaching and practicing Ayurvedic medicine for more than 18 years in the USA. They say that nobody meets a person like Krishna Kumar Ji by accident. So Dr. Anupama, what do you have to add to that, and how has your life been impacted? Please come up and share your valuable information with us. Ma'am, you're on mute. Kindly unmute yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Namaste, everyone. So it's a great honor to be in this platform with all these great, amazing speakers. And Krishna Kumar Ji, he is mentor and true inspiration for all of us. I still remember the last conversation I had with him. He mentioned that, Anu, whatever help you need there, anything with regards to Ayurveda, please let me know. I'll be happy to guide you through it and support you. And people like us, it means a lot. So it's really, it's a big shock that he's not there with us, but we will be able to continue his mission and his inspiration. So I will start with my presentation. I have some slides. Give me 1 second. Let me share my slide. I hope you can see my slide. Right? Okay.
Yes, madam.
Ma'am, are you there?
I think madam is facing some technical issues. She's offline. Can we continue with the next speaker and then introduce madam when she comes on?
All right, we'll go ahead with our next speaker, which is Dr. Hari N. Palatheri. He's an international Ayurveda lecturer and practitioner with 25 years of experience. Founder and chief physician of the Sudarshanam Center for Ayurveda and Yoga in Coimbatore. And he's a visiting professor at various institutions all around the world. So please enlighten us on practice and propagation of Ayurveda in North America. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges, and how your life and this work has been inspired by Krishna Kumar Ji?
Thank you, Dr. Anirudh. Namaste, everybody. So thank you for inviting me on this program today. And my role is to talk a little about my international experience. And there are a few questions, of course, lots of people ask when we meet. Let's say, like, people would like to immigrate or move on to different countries, and people ask for challenges and possibilities. So I think that's a right topic you have taken forward here, because lots of aspirants looking for opportunities. And even this is the same question we hear from Western students, maybe like massage therapists, yoga practitioners, doctors, allopathic doctors, and so on, or even like people who just for knowledge purpose too. So before we move on, let me tell my experience with Krishnakumar Ji, remembering him on this occasion. I still can't believe that he has left. Personally, I met him first time in 1984 when I joined Ayurveda College for my 7.5-year degree with Ayurveda College, Coimbatore. I still remember him in my early college days. He is coming often to the campus, very dynamic personality with a black beard, curly hair, and then, moving forward with everyone. And we used to admire him a lot with the way he comes and goes, and, with such a dynamic personality. And later, when I finished my college, I was in little looking for opportunities, and I had a very good opportunities from other two major leading pharmaceutical companies, since I had some direct, family relations. Krishna Ji called me and said, no, you can't go anywhere, be here itself. So that's my, the major reason Krishna Ji was a person to continue in Coimbatore. So I worked with him close to 21 years. And further, now I left AVP in 2013. So almost 7.5 years now I'm my own. So over this 27, 28 years of, my time after the college, even before or after my time with, AVP, Krishnakumar Ji used to be a very, closely connected person, and often we meet in several occasions, and he knows every one of my family member, including my in-laws. And and his memory powers used to be very amazing. Like he will remember even like 50, 40 years, incidents. So it's quite amazing. Now, back to the topic. When I started traveling internationally, that was first time I started traveling in 1997 to Germany, and then further to some few, European countries, and maybe 16, 17 times to United States, and then Brazil, Chile, and few other countries. So during my travel, every time Krishnakumar Ji used to, give lots of contacts, connections, as well as used to, push a lot for further, connections. So to take one point, like one of our, friends yesterday was mentioning, like people used to travel a lot, and how much we could contribute to the world for Ayurveda. There's one question coming up. There are different types of contribution to the world. One is, of course, to the person who travel, to the person who received the knowledge. And we believe that we all become part of the chain, like Krishnakumar Ji used to say, one person connect to the next person connect to the next person go on. So just like that, we become instrumental for giving health care for so many unknown persons, and enlightening so many directly and indirectly. And of course, so many people who have contributed similar efforts. That's why now the last 20 years, Ayurveda is showing great interest globally. When 97, when I was traveling, or even when I started my United States travel, 2009, which is 12 years back, considering the 12 years before and now, there's a difference in the attitude of people understanding how Ayurveda spread. So definitely it's spreading globally with effort of so many people. So nobody's effort is waste. Now, when we see people, there are lots of questions come, and some of the most questions, how can I go to United States and settle there? Or how can I go to England? For example, my good friend, Dr. Mauruf Atik, used to get lots of questions like, can we learn the BSc Ayurveda? And then further, can we take an immigration into England? These are kind of questions we often ask, but there are lots of hurdles in between when we talk about the challenges. The first thing, of course, we all know we need visa. So the struggle starts with visa. Of course, my first visa was rejected in 2004 just because I didn't make sure that I'm not going to be, an immigrator there. So for the NIH, that program. And then later I had a good contact, of course, so happened to help even few other people for getting visas. But once we get a visa further, there is no guarantee that we can go inside because it is with the mood of the immigration officer. So he can just deport. I have heard several such incidents. And then when we imagine we are in, still we have lots of other hurdles, like we need to have products. Without medicines, we cannot practice. Forget about the legality, which I'm going to talk to you in a few minutes. But when we consider about getting there and think about practice, we need to first of all think about the products where we can get. These days, we get raw materials, and even like Kottakkal, AVP, and few other companies are making available few of the Ayurveda products. But that was not the case 10 years back. Only Banyan Botanicals and few other companies were available for supply, medicine supply. So, and then, when we imagine we carry medicines, then the question is in the customs, like what kind of weird stuff you have. So these kinds of issues we face, but then, now you see much more opportunities. And then further, when we look at whether it is, an unapproved system, definitely no. Like yesterday, Dr. Maruf and Jeevan was talking about the same thing. Like we have lots of difficulties for practicing when, let's say, in inverted commas. So the practice is not an easy job, like getting, we don't have approval, so that we will have to use certain, or we have to avoid certain terminologies like no treatment word, we cannot use it. We cannot say cure. We cannot say, or even certain states limit, like we cannot use allopathic terminologies. Let's say ulceritis, colitis, or you say, kind of, these words are kind of patented. And I know a few of them who got into trouble, some of the Ayurvedic people who got into trouble just because they use certain words in the east part of United States. And certain states, they have big lobbying. So I'm not going to talk about the politics, but when there are certain doctors who support Ayurveda, then there are some questions coming in the field, like one of the main question we get is like, or those doctors here is, why do you want to support natural medicine? So I know a few of my friends who were supporting Ayurveda had difficult situations because they have been questioned by the pharmacies and even the licensing authorities. Like, why do you want to support them? So kind of threatening kind of letters, few of them received. Then, so this is how we can identify is that suddenly they withdraw themselves, and then, they get scared. So in another way, one of my friend doctor, he was telling, like, he was even afraid whether the plug will be pulled, means he cannot renew his license and he cannot practice anymore. So there is some kind of fear among the allopathic doctors themselves who practice Ayurveda because of some situations. Then what about Ayurvedic physicians who go there without a proper license? So let's say, imagine we travel And then, we have certain non-persons who would like to come down to us and then discuss or make a consultation. So in this scenario, when somebody come and consultation, the first thing, the advised procedure is get a disclaimer to be signed. That means this disclaimer say that there is no consultation, there is only like on personal risk, and somebody is getting, you get some suggestions, not even advices. It's just my suggestion. If you want, you can take it or not. And what about the prescription? There is no prescription. There is no prescription. The prescription, if you want, you can note down in your paper. That's it. So there is nothing written, no email, no prescriptions. And then they note down, then they may get from an online store available in United States, or they import from India. So there are lots of such technical challenges which one need to think about before thinking about all these things. So these kinds of issues solving, and like Dr. Maruf Atik and somebody like Dr. Antonio was mentioning, how much one can live with it. Because I know some of the allopathic doctors who left modern medicine and then trying to practice Ayurveda and yoga, they just make their living. But it can be like a, wealthy and like kind of show kind of life, because this science is a noble science, not for making money like a business. This is not meant for business. This is for service. So we do a seva. Whatever possible, we become instrumental for others' health, and we call it, we get a punya. So it's a punya shastra where we get lots of punyam, and that punyam will take care of us. Or we can say like dharma, that dharma protects, dharmo rakshati. So my advice to the next generation, the people who should take care of the next path from us and then lead the rest of the world, is that use this shastra judiciously as a dharma, duty to the society and for the well-being of the whole world. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hari Palathari, for sharing your experience of international practice and how Krishna Kumar Ji has shaped the vision. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions for you at the end of the session. Please stay tuned and we'll have a great interactive session at the end. Dr. Anupama, I think, has joined us now.
Sorry for the inconvenience. Not sure what happened.
Please go ahead now.
Thank you. So yeah, I was talking about the Ayurvedic profession in US. At present, we have under the 4 category: education, clinic practice, and herbs and business, and under research. And all these 4 are closer to my heart. Let's go. In this talk, we are mainly concentrating about the education. So I'm currently serving as the board of director in National Ayurvedic Medical Association. So all the data which I'm going to present under this category is based on the NAMA standards. So since 2000, NAMA is established different levels of Ayurvedic educational category, educational standards, scope of practice, code of ethics for the Ayurveda practice, examination board, accreditation board, and annual Ayurvedic conference in US. So if we look at the Ayurvedic education here, there are 3 levels of Ayurvedic education established. One is Ayurvedic health counselor, second category is Ayurvedic practitioner, and the third category is Ayurvedic doctor. And there are several other short courses also coming up. And so once these students, when they graduate from each of this category, then they get a chance to appear for the national board exam through a certification board. And after that, they can be considered board certified Ayurvedic health counselor or Ayurvedic practitioner or Ayurvedic doctor. And then these students can, this practitioner or this professional can continue with the continuing education to maintain the professional membership. So this is in the broad spectrum at present in US, different levels of Ayurvedic education. So let's go more detail about Ayurvedic health counselor. So this is about the 600 hours or more program. It's take about 1 year. And the scope of practice under this category is, this category represent an Ayurvedic professional educate to serve the community in the area of prevention and health promotion. So basically, wellness care kind of a category. That's a education they get. And currently there are about 16 NAMA approved institutions providing this education. And the next one is Ayurvedic practitioner. It's about 1,500 hours and more education. It's take about 2-year program. So here also, they also have the health promotion and wellness scope of practice. Along with that, they have some more understanding about the various pathology, Ayurvedic diagnosis, and herbal formula, and various type of bodywork therapies, etc. So their scope of practice go a little more better, somewhat about the disease management kind of category. And so currently there are about 11 NAMA approved institutions providing this education. So the last category, it's a recent addition. It's Ayurvedic doctor. It's about 4,000 hours and more education. It's a 4-year program. So here, the Ayurvedic professional with advanced clinical and specialized training in Ayurveda. Another specialty is during this curriculum, we are introducing some conventional medicine, basic knowledge of a conventional medicine understanding, and have this training to interface with the other medical professionals to provide the integrative healthcare as well. So at present, there are only 3 NAMA approved institutions providing this education. So this is a recent short courses, Ayurveda yoga therapist, 1,100 hours and more. Here again, based on Ayurvedic knowledge and yoga, both in an integrative approach to treat the patient condition. So now let's look at in general. So we can see that there are certificate programs happening in the accredited university and state approved program in the private colleges. Same certificate program as well. And then masters in Ayurveda, doctor certificate in Ayurveda, clinical internship, professional workshop, and seminars in Ayurveda. So when you look at the educational category, these are the things what's happening at present in US in various states and various levels. So definitely we can see that Ayurveda, it's a growing community here. So we have about more than 32 NAMA approved institutions and more than 1,000 Ayurvedic professionals registered under NAMA, about 500 Ayurvedic students registered. And so not all the educational institutions and professionals are registered through the NAMA. So the number may be higher than what listed. NAMA is a membership organization. So every year there are about 200 students completing various level of Ayurvedic programs in US. And we have about 75 BAMS MT registered under NAMA in US. So how does this benchmark is created in NAMA? So at present, NAMA Standard Committee, we create the benchmark. Currently, I'm working as a chair for this committee. So what we do is we do some kind of survey to identify the challenges or gap in the education. And then we standard committee come up with some guidelines and benchmark strategies and then present to the board, and board approve it, and it's going to go to the school committee. So we need to understand that Ayurveda is an emerging health profession in US. We know its potential, but it's not there yet. So whatever guidelines we have, there is a way to grow. There is still a lot of improvement needs to be done. The number of hours is still minimum in Ayurvedic practitioner. Most of the students complete Ayurvedic practitioner. Doctor program is just emerging now. So for example, we have done recent update like total in classroom hours requirement. And then we also creating the guideline for a Sanskrit to be included in the various level of Ayurvedic education. And also faculty education and experience, which helps to improve the teaching and provide the best quality of education here. So on part of that, we created NAMA accreditation body. This is very, very important step from NAMA, and really hoping that this will bring big change in the NAMA education level here in US. The main purpose is minimum standard or benchmark need to follow this educational institution. So it's one of the main vital arm of our mission to promote the growth of Ayurveda in this country. Since last month, it started working independently. So we want to make sure that the graduates of this institution maintain this standard and acquire the advanced skill they need to provide the patient care and also educate that conform to the highest level of quality and safety. Those two are important. So if we have a best education, then only we can make sure that students who graduating from that program have high skill. Okay, so that is the another primary goal for this standard. So when we created, there was huge challenge. There were some people are against for accreditation. Some people are, yes, we should go with that. To raise the Ayurvedic educational standard to the same level of the quality maintained in other reputable program or professional field. So all the Ayurvedic school must evaluated and accredited and by an independent agency. NAMA is a membership-driven organization. So Ayurvedic education also evaluated by an independent agency. And US Department of Education has deemed qualified to perform this role actually. So formal recognition by a qualified agency represents the gold standard for every provider of professional education operating in the United States. So we are hoping that it will help us to establish the high standard of patient care and demonstrate the Ayurveda's credibility and gain the same level of acceptance with the other healthcare profession, broaden the access to the affordable patient-centered healthcare from highly trained Ayurvedic professionals. So actually, we set some criteria by creating, we just launched this. And so we're really hoping maybe to establish as many of about 15 fully accredited Ayurvedic training program with the expected graduation rate about 1,000 in professionals in 3 years. That's our expectation. And assurance that the graduate of this program maintain the standard to practice their profession, increase the product sale, indirectly when we grow the Ayurvedic profession, the patient visiting for an Ayurvedic practitioner become more, and they need medicine, they need herbs, and we will be importing that from India. So increased product sale generated by a recommendation from enlarged pool of professionals. Actually, I'm working as a president of an Ayurveda herbs company, and I can see that since last 4 to 5 years now, our herb product sale increased more than 7 to 10 times what we were before. So what that signifies is there are people consuming the herbs, more and more people are taking Ayurvedic herbs. So that's giving a promising result for us. So delivery of this highest standard of Ayurvedic care to over 100,000 patients, that's our dream, So wide acceptance of the graduate of Ayurvedic training program into integrative practice setting. That is another direction Ayurveda growing in this country. Ayurveda is considered as one of the modalities used in the integrative medicine. And at the end, we all want this profession to get licensed, right? There are a lot of controversy again, yes or no for that, but in a stronger case for licensure, so many people can afford it actually. So I just want to talk very, few things about my, inspiration, the Ayurvedic program and Krishna Kumar Ji's, we had several times the communication about this program at SCU. So this is where we have Ayurvedic program. It's this university started in 1911. And it's one of the leading institution in US to prepare the competent and caring integrative health practitioner. And we have doctor of chiropractic, doctor of acupuncture, and various other health physician assistant, etc. So our program Ayurvedic department started in 2008. And currently we have Ayurveda wellness educator, Ayurveda practitioner program, Ashtanga Hridayam, Charaka Samhita, introduction to Sanskrit, clinical internship to Ayurvedic practitioner. We have a really good team of faculty, and one of our faculty will be talking in the night, Dr. Prasad. He's a great, really senior faculty in our program. And Dr. Ram Manohar teaches Ashtanga Hridayam and Charaka Samhita at SCU. So, you can see that the classes, what they cover. When I came to India last time at one of the university conferences, what do you teach there? You will only maybe massage or diet or lifestyle. And I just want to share, no, the students over here also go through rigorous curriculum. Again, it is not as number of hours is as not good as BAMS level yet, but it's an emerging profession in this country. it takes time. We need patients coming here. We need, otherwise, if immediately jump into 4,000 hours, 5,000 hours program, they will have equally, the financial aid will be very high. The tuition fee will be very high. Once they graduate, they need to make sure they can pay it back, right? So we need to have that much public awareness in the US about the Ayurvedic medicine so that people will reach out to Ayurvedic practitioner. So it's all interlinked actually, but we try our level best to include the most of these classes in our education so that by the time they graduate, they have a minimum scope of minimum understanding, or they can be comfortably work on the field of Ayurveda. So this is our Ayurvedic class, and then this is our, one of the Ayurvedic graduation ceremonies, it's our clinic setting. So, what I would like to say is, my dream is to bring Ayurveda into a mainstream of practice in US. And it's the time is, I strongly feel the time is not that far, it will happen, but it may be not in next few years, but definitely in next few decades, definitely it can happen. At SCU, we are planning to start an Ayurvedic doctoral program at a graduate level. So that is going to be a big change if that happens. Again, we are in the early stage of discussion. There are a lot of approval, different level of approvals needed, but it gives me hope. It gives me very much enthusiasm to see that, yes, this science has that potential, right? This science is one of the oldest healthcare system existing in the world, which talk about the diet as a medicine, sleep as a medicine, lifestyle as a medicine, spirituality as a medicine, and where it teaches us to reach into ultimate state of happiness, right? So, and here every individual function in their life is to reach the happiness. Whatever we do at the end goal will be happiness and peaceful state of mind, and happiness without any reason. And that's what Ayurvedic philosophies talk about. Which other healthcare science talk that, right? It has that potential. We all have to hold our hands together. Let's bring Krishna Kumar Ji's dream come true, that globalization of Ayurveda is not that far. It's happening in different country. Within another few decades, we can see there are so many Ayurvedic practitioners practicing in a different country to bring this science into the mainstream of practice. That's it. I don't want to take more time, but thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. Namaste.
Ma'am, your contagious energy and enthusiasm has filled us all with hope, and your enlightening session was really great. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Please stay tuned. We'll have a discussion session at the end. And as ma'am was mentioning, now we have in the panel Dr. Shiv Rama Prasad, who is Professor and Director of Capstone Research at Southern California University of Health Sciences, California, USA. And he has had more than 30 years of experience in Ayurveda as an academician, researcher, practitioner, and has authored many books. We are fortunate to have you, sir. Please enlighten us with your knowledge. And how has Krishna Kumar Ji envisioned what you are doing in your life?
Thank you. Namaste, everyone, and also pranams to Krishna Kumar Ji. Yes, just definitely he has this power even after he departed from this earth, that to bring all of us together and unite us here and continue his work of that, what you said initially, not you, somebody else said PRACHAAR word, so out of the AVP thing, and which is being continued. I'm really grateful, and I was touched by his, during our interaction, by his compassion, as well as also the support which he would wanted to unconditionally provide. Whenever whenever I met him, he would always ask, do you need any help? Like Dr. Anu was mentioning, that's the only thing. And he was always unconditionally helping. And I was thinking that he would not remember me after 5 years when I tried to talk to him from here. And he said, oh, he remembers, and described everything, all our previous interactions. It was really amazing. He comes across so many people, and yet he can really remember all of us by names and what we are doing and where we are and all that. So that's something really very encouraging to know. And he is definitely one of the very few people who was born to only propagate Ayurveda. So just really good, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really honored, and I'm going to share my screen and start presenting that will not hold you all back. So the topic given to me was formal possibilities of Ayurveda in United States. So I'm just going to repeat some of the things what you have heard already from Dr. Hari Palladeri as well as Dr. Anupama Kirkavital. So some of those might be the same, but it's going to be, I'll take a different path also just to show you. So this is my outline, Ayurveda in the US, and you heard about the levels of Ayurvedic education and practice. So let's quickly go. So Ayurveda is growing in the United States slowly, based on the studies which were done in 2012. It looks like there are 241,000 people are taking it, but it's a very small number, but it would have grown in 10 years by now. I'm very comfortably, I can say that it would have doubled, as you heard from Dr. Hari saying that he has seen growth himself and he is coming across many patients. So one of the things which was really helpful for us for this growth is the growth in yoga and meditation users in the United States, which you could see that from in 5 years, from 2005 to 2012, there is a 6% or 5% growth in yoga practitioners and more from meditation. Although there are different types of meditation, and meditation originally originated from India, and there is a greater influence of all types of meditations from India, and people who are more likely to use yoga and meditation are more likely to seek Ayurvedic care because they do come across and learn about Ayurveda from people who are practicing yoga. So you also heard about NAMA, which is one of the most important organizations. There are several other organizations which are recently started or have been there for quite some time, but nothing is as organized and is as NAMA, and which is working towards so many important goals for propagation of this particular science and basically support Ayurvedic education as well as also professional practice. And you also heard that these are the categories of practitioners at this point, levels of education and practice. And you have heard, like, there are the growth of practice guidelines. I mean, practice scope increases with the number of hours one gets educated. And finally, this doctoral thing, when that becomes a bigger reality and more people use, and we will be able to actually diagnose and treat complex cases using more classical formulas and all tools. Of course, licensing is something really very important. Something really I want to focus upon is about the certification board, which was established in 2017, which was part of National Ayurvedic Medical Association, but this is an independent body which is being supported by NAMA for funding and everything, but this is managed by an independent certificate board of board members who really review everything and then are responsible for creating these particular exams as well as also administering these exams. So this is something really very important. Like you heard about accreditation, certification exams, which are basically managed by a third party, is really very important because unlike India, here the exams are in the school are not conducted by an external examination, or it's not conducted by university, where so the exams are at the time of graduation or also are provided by the school itself. So you need to have a licensing body which conducts a licensing exam in order to say that you have the competency. So for that, before a licensing body comes, so somebody should start this, and so that's what this particular certification board is aiming at, which was created by the NAMA, which was basically at this point, right now, there is a board certified Ayurveda health counselors as well as also board certified Ayurvedic practitioner. These are the two certificates which they receive. And there's a big process which is involved. And we did hire a professional test taking management company, which is not really something easy, which costs around $40,000 to $50,000 in order to create test development and test delivery, as well as international. This is a company which Criterion is the name of the company, which has these international testing centers and which also provides test taker support. And there are psychometric services which usually are involved in looking at each and every question and every test item and see that it is standardized in terms of the length of the stem of the question, as well as also the answers. One cannot be a longer answer, one cannot be a shorter answer, and it cannot be a distractor, should be very good. All these different aspects which are so important are all taken into consideration and created, and so that anybody who nobody should be able to contest the questions afterwards and then say that, and each and every question should be linked to a reference, classical references. Those references were also established right at the beginning. So in order to do this test development process, just to give you a picture of what is being done, 25 subject matter experts majority of them were BAMS and MDs, as well as also those who are from locally trained and quite experienced and who have been with within this profession for quite some time, are involved in it and collaborated with the testing company, and also they themselves got trained and to develop the industry standard tasks. The required job, first we had to see what was the job task analysis, like what are these people doing so far, and then conduct a blueprint survey. And so I was also an item writer training, item writer, and so I underwent a training, like what should be, how we should write the questions, and then there was a technical review, and then the whole test was beta tested first, and then based on the post-beta analysis, a cutoff score was decided, and then the the test was developed, and then it was administered. And then we are at a process where there are quite a few number of over 100 and above people have taken the Ayurvedic health counselor exam, and then around 40 to 50 people have taken the Ayurvedic practitioner exam in the last 2-3 years. So the COVID has really caused a lot of inertia in this particular process, but nevertheless, we are not stopping, and we are going to launch Ayurvedic doctoral board certification the next year, or end of this year or next year, because we just finished item writing and everything is going through the process of standardization of the test with the Ayurvedic doctor. So all this would definitely help us to go to the licensing as the major goal, which we are all looking for. And of course, it is a state subject. It's not a federal law or anything which can decide that Ayurveda can be given license. Each state has its own assembly or Congress, and which it has to be, and a bill has to be introduced by the Congress or Senate. You heard from Dr. Hari how things have to be done, and so it has to be approved by both houses, and then the governor, and then there's a regulatory body need to be created, which is a licensing board. Like acupuncture has a licensing board, medicine has a medical board. Like that, we have to have an Ayurvedic regulatory board, which is a government body. Then things could happen, or it could be part of medical board also. In some states, it could be something like that, which we cannot predict what's going to be like. So it definitely requires a lot of support from the Ayurveda professionals, consumers, legislatures, other healthcare professions, and public in general, because if there is more demand, then there could definitely be supply could be increased, and that supply would go through all these processes, as well as licensing. Licensing gives us some kind of real protection for the practitioners, as you are hearing from Dr. Haripalatheri, that there are so many challenges if you do not have license, because you cannot practice what is there within the scope. So safety and efficacy, as you heard already, also are two key areas which are really important in order to get that licensing. What is it that is required to determine? How do we determine? So we have to speak the language one can understand, which is not just translating Ayurveda into biomedical language, but I'm also talking about one language which is very easily understandable for everybody in the public, as well as by the policymakers, is research. So I'm not going to touch upon it much, but it is really something very important. All people in India, as well as outside India, within Ayurvedic profession, should really think about and creating this. So I also want to just quickly touch upon, Ayurveda is definitely becoming part of national conferences and organizations. It is part of the oldest public health organization called as American Public Health Association, where Ayurvedic professionals are active members and leaders of this section, and also Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. As you can see, Dr. Anu is one of the keynote speakers in this 2021 conference, which is October 29 to 31. So that we are being invited and to be part of that. And also this is another international congress on integrative medicine and health, where many Ayurvedic presentations were made by people from India, as well as from the United States, as well as North America. And we have this annual conference from NAMA also, which attracts so many people from all over the world. So which is something really interesting for you to know about. Heard about Ayurvedic supplements, which were not there, but right now we definitely came to a position where we do have Kottakkal products, and the other big players like Atreya, Dr. Anu is the president of this, as well as Komal Herbals and Banyan, and then Harmony, and then there are so many other bigger players you can see. And there are Ayurveda treatment centers in the United States, which are out there, or which are offering Ayurvedic consultations, therapies, and supplements, which is really interesting. And also university and institution-based Ayurvedic clinics. You heard about Ayurvedic clinic in our health center, as well as also Mount Madonna. These are all institution-based. And then there are many private institutions which have also very well-established treatment centers, which are seeing quite a few patients, and the patient numbers are really growing and the demand is growing. So this is the most important slide everybody is waiting for. What are the formal possibilities for Ayurveda in the United States? This is my perspective. Either anybody can get into academia or practice. If you're getting into academia, it could be a teacher. I'm talking about basically for people who are coming from India, or anybody with an Ayurvedic degree. So teach in various Ayurveda programs in person here or also online. I've heard recently that there are some of my students have signed up with some Ayurvedic practitioners in India. And as a mentors, the Ayurvedic practitioners in India are providing services in the form of mentoring and guiding the students here who are just getting into practice, and they want somebody as a practitioner on the back so that they could discuss their cases with them. So something which you could definitely think about and sign up or promote yourself so that you could be available for providing some kind of support to these budding practitioners in the United States. You could be a subject matter expert, and if you're going into academia and research, or also you could be a clinical researcher on your own. We have done some small studies like that. And if you're doing practice, also you can do practice under the academic umbrella as a clinician, or provide lifestyle counseling. In practice is a little bit challenging. Health and wellness coach with a limited scope, you could do that, or practice under the license of an MD with a relatively expanded scope of practice, or get a license in another degree and which provides license to you. And under that umbrella, you could definitely practice Ayurveda, and you can definitely expand, which is what I'm doing and Dr. Anu is doing. Many of us are doing here naturopathic degrees, and I have my additional acupuncture degree, but ask yourself if you're going to depend upon Ayurvedic practice as your single source of income, which was very well pointed out by Dr. Hari, which is very important. I'm going to skip in the interest of time, because there was a study which was done, survey which was done, and this is what is being reported by people and who during this COVID period, that Ayurveda services for health promotion and disease prevention are being given for COVID-19, and they are using custom formulas also. So overall, in conclusion, Ayurveda is gradually becoming popular in the United States. Licensing will remain a dream for some more time. Is primarily practiced for health promotion, but research in Ayurveda is the one which is going to open doors for further possibilities in this country. Sorry, I took a little longer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking us inside that details which are crucial to learn what are the formal possibilities of Ayurveda in the US. Please stay tuned for the discussion. Thank you so much, sir.
Sure. Thank you.
Next up, we have Ms. Heike Siegebart from Germany, and she's an Ayurveda teacher and practitioner of Panchakarma of more than 20 years of experience. I welcome you. Please enlighten us with your experience with Krishna Kumar Ji of Ayurveda in Germany, how it has been.
Thank you. Ragarogam satatanu shaktam ashesham kaya prasatam ashesham autsukya moha ratidan jagana yopurva vaidyaya namostu tasmai. Namaste to one and all, and my pranams to the departed soul of Krishna Kumar Ji. He has impacted me a lot on my travel. And since 1990, I wanted to go to India, but it took some more years to come to India, 4 years to save the money and then to study at AVP. I want to start with my presentation. My topic is about clinical practice in Germany, AVP medicines, the challenges and possibilities of getting Ayurvedic medicine in Germany for clinical practice. Do you see the full slide?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. First of all, what was touched yesterday and today, who can practice Ayurvedic medicine in Germany? BMS is not recognized as a medical degree in Germany and other countries in the West, as we heard now, and is not allowed to treat patients. An Ayurvedic doctor can work under the responsibility of a doctor of modern medicine or a Heilpraktiker. He can give wellness massage, or he can teach Ayurvedic classes, give lifestyle consultations, Sattvrita, but no medical consultations. But there are two possibilities to practice Ayurvedic medicine in Germany. One is either to be a modern medicine doctor or to become a modern medicine doctor. If you are BMS, 2 or 3 semesters will be recognized, like the anatomy, physiology, and pathology studies, and you have to continue the study for modern medicine, or you become a Heilpraktiker. Foreigners with valid residence permits can do the exam for Heilpraktiker, which gives the permission to treat with Ayurveda, homeopathy, acupuncture, and so on. And this is what made it possible for me always to practice Ayurveda in Germany and do, like yesterday, I've done leech therapy. I had Nasya yesterday. Next week there will be Niruhavasti and Snehavasti. There will be Virejna, again Nasya for other patients. My milestones were that I made this exam and certificate as Heilpraktiker in 92. 94, I started to study medicine, Ayurvedic medicine at AVP, at the International Institute of Ayurveda, and at Vaidyaratnam. In 97, I started an Ayurvedic clinic in Germany with Ayurvedic Dr. Jivan, including Panchakarma. And as we have heard before that, always when we practice Ayurveda, also good medicines are needed for a good treatment. So also at the same time, we started to import the traditional Ayurvedic medicine. 2005, I started my own Ayurvedic clinic, das Ayurveda Haus an der Alten Linde in South Germany. And 2006, I wanted to look again from whom I want to import the medicines. And because of my deep connection to Krishna Kumar Ji and AVP, after looking to all the best manufacturers, I decided to import from AVP and started with the online shop Swastiam. In 2012, Huberto Seal continued with the online shop Swastiam and included the Kottakkal products. Devidas Varriar came to us and visited us. He who was the former product manager and now the director of AVP. We just discussed the scope of future possibilities. This is a part of the storeroom. I don't know whether you can see on the bottle, there's not written Ayurvedic medicine, but Ayurvedic product. Ayurvedic medicine is imported as food supplement, and this is still a gray zone in the West. We import Thailam, we import Kritam, Arishtam, Churnam, Kashaya, Lecham, Gulika, but as I told, not in the name as medicine. And it's important that endangered plants are not written on the label. Novel food shall not be written on the product list, which is a little bit problem. But the same thing I heard this morning of Dr. Sindhu is in India, that endangered plants are getting more, and critical animal products like corn, when the medicine cannot be produced. And then also for the import, it's important to have tests from the international accredited labs on heavy metal, at least, and that it is all above, not above the limits, and it's different in EU than in India, the limits. And best is also to have the test for the pesticides, microbes, and fungus. Food supplements become more and more restricted in the EU, and authorities started to search on internet if a product is described as medicine. An Ayurvedic drug that has been acquired through internet as medicine can strictly said is a violation against the paragraph of Arzneimittelgesetz and can be punished. If it's in a small amount, then they will not search it, but if it's a bigger amount, more than 11 kg, then sometimes more problems are coming. By Dhanvantari's grace and the full support of AVP, CNS, and Kottakkal, we never had any problems. Some others had severe problems. There are differences in the intentions of Indian government and the intentions of practitioners, importers in the EU in the West. Like the CCIS, they want to establish Ayurvedic medicine worldwide as medicinal products. Appropriate scientific and regulatory standards must be met. This is very high cost, like million of dollars for one product is not a lot. And we are having like 200 different products, so it's unimaginable. This transformation process is a great challenge, and it's long and difficult. And the intention of practitioners, importers in the EU, in the West, is the cheapest and the fastest way to recognize Ayurvedic medicine is to register as traditional herbal medicinal product, THMPD, if it's possible. But for that, it has to be there on the market before 97 in the EU on a larger scale. There is no Ayurvedic product until now which is approved as Ayurvedic medicine or THMPD. All products would need to be approved, which has high costs. This product continue to be named still as food supplements, or for external use, it's like as cosmetics. Padma Shri Krishna Kumar Ji gave us a role model in 1995, and his team, when he initiated all needed studies for the medicine approval of Arya Prachar, Jivani, which was going on over several years. But nobody had the courage and is ready to follow his example and invest time and money. Only shortly to show what belongs to the to get it recognized as THMPD and what are the costs. As I told, they must have been extensively used in Europe before 1997, but no in vivo, no in vitro test studies are needed. The complete monography of the plants is not needed. For one plant, the full study will be 190,000 euro. For 3 plants combination like tripalite will be 360,000. As more plants inside, as more costly it becomes. Example of recognition of tripalite Churnam as THMPD would be that the 3 plants, 50,000 each, as stability and validity test, plus 20,000 euro for further tests. GMP, the pharmaceutical development, 50,000 for 1 to 3 plants. Additional tests on bacterial genotoxicity. This must be already available in India. And then the European Medicine Agency, 4,000 euro. Readability test of package leaflet, 5,000 euro. So what is the global future of Ayurvedic medicine? The worldwide, there's an increasing demand for key Ayurvedic herbs, like for instance for Deshamula, and there's even not enough of all the 10 plants in India to cover all the needs. And so the other thing is that biodiversity is reducing and increasing numbers of plants are on the red list. And what would be the solution for the world, the global solution? Be vocal for local. We have to understand better the Dravyaguna of new plants where we live. The Rasaguna, Virya, Vipaga, Prabhava, Karma, as Dr. Morandi was telling also yesterday. But all what I've seen until now is just superficial at the start, but we have to dive more deep inside. And then also it's important to prepare the plants in the form needed according to the Vaishakya Kalpana. Not always big yogas are needed, but the knowledge how to prepare, which Kalpana to give in which case, whether Kashayam or Churnam, Gulika, Lecham. In this I have seen in the West only, like for instance, sometimes just the herbs are put into the oil or some aromatic oils are put into the oil and it's called Ayurvedic oil. So further knowledge has to be spread in these two fields. And Padmashri Krishna Kumar Ji gave us the role model already 25 years ago for the process of recognition with the plant Arya Prachar. But this process is a great challenge as well and takes time. For the Dravyaguna, we need a clear perception to feel the Rasaguna, Virya, Vipaga, the Prabhava, observe the karma, observe how the animals take the plants, read the old texts, which we are having here of herbal medicine, try it on ourselves, discuss and study further, and then only put it into practice. No computer program can do that for us. It is a lifelong journey. When we understand ourselves, then we understand the world, the patient, the plants, the medicine. Loka Purushyo Samanyam. One who sees equally the entire universe in his own self, and the entire universe is his own self, like is written in Chakra Samhita and Sharirasthana 5. Thank you. I feel deep gratitude to be a part of the wonderful AVP family, Krishna Kumar Ji's family.
Thank you so much, madam. That was a real intricate insight into how to practice in Germany and what all goes inside, how much efforts are required to do so. Thank you so much for that. As we all know, Krishna Kumar Ji has impacted all the lives he has come across. So was my life impacted when I first met him at Tattva Prakashini. The only introduction I got from my senior about Krishna Kumar Ji was, there's a man who is so passionate about service and Ayurveda that he will cry and he will make you cry. I didn't understand that explanation until I met him and instantly knew this is that man. And as soon as I approached him, he asked me, like he asked everybody else, what do you want to do? And how can I help? As soon as he asked, all those things which don't matter just wash away. And we think of only the thing which matters is service and propagating this science however we can. That is what I am trying to do. And that is what I have pledged to do. And Krishna Kumar Ji has certainly been my guiding guru in that. Now we have a session for discussion with our panelists, and whatever questions are there, we can put it up in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to put it up for our panelists. First up, we already have had a question for Dr. Daniel, and that is really interesting. People want to know that how can an Ayurveda practitioner from India or any other country be a part of such a trial and research?
It's a very good question. It is certainly possible to develop international studies. I think the issue is, what are the questions that are important, and how can an international group further the validity of the question that's being asked? If we as a group wish to do something like that, I would be more than happy to develop a standing committee to ask the questions that can be answered internationally. I think what was really brought forward was the difficulty in being sure that the products that are being used are standardized and valid. In our study right now, for example, it's taken a full year of testing to validate the drugs that are being used. I think in an international study, the biggest issue is not going to be enthusiasm. It's not going to be design. It's going to be product. And I think we have to work to do that. I think the AVP was very good at that, and I'm sure they'd be willing to help. And if one wished, I can try and give you a name of a person to develop such a standing committee to consider what studies should be done.
That would be great, sir. And rightly said that products, if standardized, then only research of such level can be held. Thank you so much for that, sir. Next question we have to Dr. Hari. That is, how can we practice online? Nowadays, we see a lot of doctors get online consultations. So are there any regulations for that practice internationally through online platform?
Well, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Absolutely.
So that's a good question, because now it's internationally, the online consultations and training programs are going on. Technically speaking, any consultations digitally performed is a valid proof that there was a consultation. So there are certain types of precautions and things to be done. But if the patient is a real patient and the patient is looking for the physician and the physician also capable, there is no such conflict or problem that can happen due to some kind of issues, because the issues won't happen. So this question comes only to a physician who may be just prescribing something, or the patient doesn't have the proper trust. So if it is a real case and they desperately wanted to be treated, they will follow. And as well as a physician, there will be good connectivity. So usually there will be no such possibilities, but still these days we have different types of people. We don't know, and there are certain insurances and liability clause disclaimers and those kinds of things to be taken care of, technically speaking. But we can also say that, like, we sit in our place and we do consultation, for example, like from India, the geographical location we are here, people who contacted, they have contacted us. So there can be such, technical, in legally, there can be some loopholes as well. As we say, we Indians look for not for laws, but loopholes. And if there is a law, there will be a loophole. So there will be possibilities and, as well as issues. So that we will have
the
to
doctor
face.
So the doctor can prescribe and even send the medicines wherever required.
Yes. Well, see, I have patients from all over, and almost every day I have several online consultations as well as offline consultations. Even during the peak COVID time, it was very busy time. And I never faced any kind of trouble sending medicines to all countries except Spain. Of course, Heike knows. She's a very close friend of mine. Spain has certain kind of difficulties for sending medicines. For example, it can only be sent from a company to company, not individual person to person. While other countries say person to person is possible. So that is the difference between Spain and other countries. Now, right now, the latest information which I got it from DHL, that Germany is blocking all the consignments. I don't know, Heike, maybe you will know if you have taken any news talk recently.
Yes.
But right now, no?
No problems. And
Yeah,
one
but
is,
DHL is not clearing.
But we are sending through C-mail. So it's a bigger amount which we are importing, and so in that we had no problems until now, luckily.
Yeah. So as of now, the customs clearance, as well as in India, as well as, I mean, in India it is not a problem, but at the port of entry in Germany, including modern medicines, are blocked. So no health products from India. Maybe because of the COVID situation, I don't know. But there is some kind of restrictions. That's what the DHL people conveyed. Not just a person or a company or anything. Zero transport. That's what DHL has, conveyed. So a couple of consignments to Germany is now stopped because of that. But if you say, for example, like France, any product that you send to France, there will be an import duty, though it is a nominal amount. The same case with England. England also charges for import duty. And then similarly, like I have sent to Singapore, goes through very easily. US, very easy. Only thing is like MSDS form is required for liquids. Even like bigger consignments, like, was possible to send. I would say maybe the easiest country to send products could be United States.
May I interrupt here just for a second? I have a real
please.
concern with the litigiousness in the US. If you send something in good faith, the patient has a bad outcome. In our system, that could easily result in a personal lawsuit. How do you protect yourself against that?
Well, it's a good question. As I told you, it depends upon the practice. So as of now, we can say whatever the treatments and therapies are done very meticulously. So far I haven't faced any kind of complications or anything. So that is one point. The other side, like we may have to think about like insurances or other kinds of legal cover-ups. So as of now, any latest available like such thing I'm not aware of.
Dr. Anupama, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So regarding the products, yes, the products what we bring here, it has to go through different level of lab testing before it dispatched from India. And after the containment reach here, we have to randomly select, and the third party has to be tested. All the microbial tests, there are several tests which is required, and an FDA person will come and then make sure they also randomly pick, and then once we get their approval only, we can even open that complete package in our warehouse. But to add into that, I completely understand. I'm not sure if we are practicing from India, how that can be protected for Dr. Daniel's question. But here we have we have the liability insurance. Even at the herb company, we have millions of dollars of liability. That's something very, very important in this country. Otherwise, we can lose everything. You never know what's going to happen. And the third thing is for Ayurvedic profession, it was another one of my dream project to bring a malpractice insurance coverage for Ayurvedic practitioners. That task we initiated actually 5-6 years back, but last year we launched a malpractice insurance specific for Ayurvedic practitioner. And in that, we made sure we include the herbs. So that means a practitioner who dispense the herb and something happened, that will be covered up to $1 million coverage is there, and in a year maximum, I think maximum $3 million, I believe. So that's some we created and launched last year, and which is available for Ayurvedic practitioner here. In the beginning, we started only for the practitioner in state of California, but we are now also thinking now to extend into the another state as well. But about India, I'm not sure how that can be protected. But I would say this is something very, there are already some publications which give the cautious, and if patients from here ask also, does Ayurvedic products have the heavy metal? Does Ayurvedic products have the, so we have to showcase that, yes, this is gone through the test and this is what it is showing. Doesn't have, whatever, there is some percentage what we can have in the product, and that transparency is needed. So I'm not sure, maybe the products which is coming from India already, gone through this test and then coming, I don't know whether once it reach here, it may be the quantity is very minimum, the individual patient level, maybe it doesn't have to go through those tests and cover it. Yeah, that's.
Dr. Anupama, can I add something?
Yes, sir.
Well, to your this heavy metal presence in Ayurveda medicines, generally, people talk about this issue, or internationally, lots of such remarks. Nobody intentionally add anything.
Yeah.
Actually, there are lots of natural pollutions by maybe, like vehicle pollutions, or, all these kinds of natural pollutions, which plant absorbs. So if one of our plant, let's say Bella or Tulsi, if it absorbs such heavy metals, we can expect the same thing happen from rice, wheat, potatoes, tomatoes, mangoes, everything.
Yes.
So this kind of contamination, let's say contamination, is not limited to herbs. This can also happen in every food, like vegetables and, things. Unfortunately, Ayurvedic medicines are being labeled, and the same, that justice is not shown and just discriminated, with fruits and other things.
Yes, sir. We bring that in several meetings, actually. But at this point, that's why we need the data. We need more research. We need to showcase, the effectiveness and efficacy of these herbs and Ayurvedic principle in the treatment as well as wellness care. Yes.
Yeah. So nice that you have mentioned about the insurance facility available. And also some of the companies in Kerala and, like AVP, there are some testing labs. Of course, it is so expensive. So every batch of medicines testing and then become, not viable.
Yeah.
So, and
I think
industry is not very rich.
I think that the insurance in the United States is critical and very reassuring. So thank you for setting that up.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Daniel. Thank you for raising this question too.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am, for answering this in such a beautiful way. And we have another interesting question, ma'am. How can we, any doctor from India, join and be associated with NAMA?
Oh, anyone can join from outside US. They have a under membership category, general membership category, and it's about $100 for annual renewal, and anybody can join under that. And I saw that question, and you don't have to be a NAMA member to teach in US, or the Dr. Prasad was mentioning, many of our students now actually have, even Coimbatore, I forgot that doctor name. Our students really like one of the doctors in Coimbatore. He give the advice, or regularly meet with the students, and if they have any question and challenges, it's a virtual indirect way of consultation to educate them, to give them more confidence. So you don't have to be a NAMA member, but it's always great when you become NAMA member. You get more understanding of what's happening here. Different activities. So you can be a professional in the membership, under the membership category. General membership can be selected for that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. There's a question for Dr. Shivarama. Sir, how if some company wants to export to the US, what are the licenses required, or is the medicine sent in the form of nutraceutical or a pharmaceutical? How is it, sir? What are the formalities for that?
I'll try to answer it, but I think Dr. Anu is more the most appropriate person, because as a president of a herbal company, she will do it, but I can try my best. So definitely no Ayurvedic medicine can come to the US with the label Ayurvedic medicine for exporting. So that label has to be changed, and it can only be a supplement. When you say it's a supplement, it comes under the, there was an act called as Supplement and Herbal, Supplement Act, DSHEA, I don't remember the full form of it, and which comes with a disclaimer that this product is not for diagnosing, curing, or treating any particular disease. That is something really very important as well for that labeling. And number one. Number two, definitely there is, although the product could be made at a GMP or whatever it is, it could be a pharmaceutical grade, but it cannot still claim any of those things. It could be still only a supplement. It cannot be a medicine. And it has to definitely go through rigorous testing in order to demonstrate that it is not contaminated with any of those things which we just discussed, whether heavy metals or any kind of other pollutants, or the moisture content, and all the contents which are really very important to demonstrate that it is a safe product and all that in order to bring it here. The reason why Dr. Haripalatari was asking, like, why is this being for herbs and not for food? Food is not consumed like so consistently like herbs and supplements. So because after over a period of time when you take it, it could become toxic and it could create some problems. And that's why whenever you say a supplement, it is looked into by another body versus a Department of Agriculture looking into food. So which is looked into very carefully, because it is being promoted as a supplement, which means you take it for a regular time, for a longer time also. So hope I answered. If there is anything, Anu, if you can add.
I think you have answered, sir. So, if you're planning for exporting, you need to have exporting license there. And companies from here or individuals from here can help you to set up an exporting license in a bigger amount. If it is only 1 or 2 patients, I think it's not a big problem. Dr. Harris sir said, you can send it via DHL, and it's not now at present there is no controlling body to look into the smaller amount of herb shipping. But if you're planning to a major, like Kottakkal or bigger, what we at Atraya Herbs. Our facilities also approved through GMP and the US Los Angeles Health Department clearance and FDA approval. So we have to go through several level of inspection. And randomly they come in and check it, and we have to make sure several standards we need to follow, as Dr. Prasad mentioned, checking the microbial test and heavy metal test clearance. And yeah, I think pretty much everything Dr. Prasad mentioned there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Prasad and Dr. Anupama. This was really insightful. And if we have any other questions, we would like to take that up right now.
If I can answer one of the questions here on the in the chat, somebody was asking
Sure.
about, don't think everything can be proved in the lab. If this is the case, it would be tough to get approval for Ayurveda as a pure science. So the question is about, basically always the question is, why is research required for Ayurveda is a question which always comes up when we say that we have established itself for thousands of years, and is it still required? So what we have is perhaps a kind of an anecdotal evidence and something which I was mentioning, that you have to speak the language of people who you want to communicate with. So there could be an anecdotal evidence, but what is being asked is more of an empirical evidence which will demonstrate that it is safe on a long-term use and does not, we do keep on claiming and everything, but if there is some kind of a document which demonstrates that it is safe, it is good. And when we talk about efficacy, we also want to definitely systematically collect data over a period of time that this particular product has been given in so many people and in the same dosage, the same everything, and it is not really causing any kind of adverse effects. And even if there are adverse effects and adverse effects profile, like you saw Dr. Hurst mentioning in the very first, like he did demonstrate that there are sometimes adverse events, and it's not, you cannot completely find without any adverse events, right? So it's quite possible, and that needs to be demonstrated as well in the products in order for us to accept it. One last thing which is really very important is, we all know that these are all effective. Research does not mean it is always efficacy. Research also means that there are other things which are important. We do not determine how long the treatment should be done in order to get a person from point A to point B. How much effective is it over a period of time? We just say 3 months, use it for 6 months, but we do not have any kind of data on that part. So dosage response curves, we do not have. Dose response curves, we don't have, which we could always do. We can also do comparative effectiveness research, which compares with one particular, like Dr. First trial, which he is talking about, methotrexate versus Ayurveda. Like it need not be a versus placebo, but also versus other things. That's a very good example of comparative effectiveness trials where you could definitely compare the effectiveness. Who are the people who can really tolerate and take Ayurvedic herbs and medicines, and who are the good candidates and who are not good candidates? So there are always, it's not that 100% all prior patients are going to respond to your Ayurvedic treatments, right? There are always people who respond very well to some other things. So those are things which are really important. It's not a pure science approval or kind of a label or stamping which we are requesting for this. I have to give you an example of Chinese medicine. The way it got established in this country is just because of the research which was demonstrated by WHO, as well as also the National Institutes of Health in this country for it to get licensing. It had presented a whole bunch of research studies conducted in China, not even here, as well as other places, in order to say that this is really efficacious. And there is some promise here, and please try to adopt this as a licensed profession. And that's how it started in 1971. Now it is 49 states in the country, it is licensed. So we have to adopt a path which others have adopted and which is something easy, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And you don't think that, oh, why should I approve, or why should I prove myself, is not that, and should keep an open mind and try to speak the language.
I want to support this very strongly. I believe that well-controlled trials, both prospective, as I put forward, and observational over the long term, to look at effectiveness, not just efficacy, are truly important if this system of medicine is going to become respected and used. It really is that simple.
I would love to add also something, because like I'm a little bit different opinion than Dr. Prasad, because I believe that when you take a herb, it's only a small amount. When you take a basmati rice, for instance, which is contaminated with arsenic, then it is a huger amount. So the amount is not making the difference alone. So it's very important also that the medicine is tested in India itself, because there are different cases that happened in the past that people got contamination with, for instance, mercury, and it went in the media and made a very bad effect on Ayurveda. It was in the media and people had fear to go to an Ayurvedic practitioner, and because of the heavy metals. And then when we can prove that it is not, or that it's all in the limits, then the people will trust.
I think the need of research in Ayurveda, need of proper research in the same field is beautifully summed up by all our panelists. It was a great discussion. I thank you all for joining us. We are nearing the end of the discussion today, or the talk today. And I'll hand over the dais to Dr. Shrija.
Doctors, Dr. Daniel Eric Furst, Dr. Anupama Kirakevittal, Dr. Harian Pallateri, Dr. Shivrama Prasad Vinjamuri, Ms. Heike Siegabath. Dear doctors, your presence itself enriched and enhanced our program. You shared how Krishna Kumar Ji influenced your life, and we could have another glimpse of him through your memories of him. The discussion and analysis of yours would definitely be productive to those who seeks to have a global Ayurvedic career and would inspire them as well. Dr. Anirudh, thank you for joining us today to moderate today's program. We have watched you grow from the perspective of Krishna Kumar Ji, and his influence in you is very clearly visible. We once again bow to Krishna Kumar Ji's great soul. Thank you everyone for joining Prachar, organized by Ashirvad Health and Education Trust and Ayurveda Hospital, supported by the Arya Vaidya Pharmacy, Coimbatore Limited, and Ashirvad Ayurveda Pharmacy. We will continue tomorrow, same time, same place. Today's program will be available on YouTube on Ayurveda Hospital's channel. Thank you. Good night. Shubhratri.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.